Hey my friends, welcome to Intuition Awakening. My name is Jenine. I'm a Reiki master and an intuitive coach located in Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada. Today I wanted to give you my breakdown of how the body works, of our chakra system. We're going to go through each of the chakras. We're also going to touch on my 3 key fundamentals when I work with clients. What are the 3 things that I want you to learn and deeply understand about you as a whole person in order to heal all of these chakras, to overcome traumas, and so much more. So let's dive in. During this event, I will be live channeling some Reiki healing as well. It's my deep, deep intention that if you connect with this video, that it sounds like you, that you and I will connect. So feel free to check my website out, intuitionawakening.com. I'm also on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and I teach live classes about all of this and more on Insight Timer at least once a week, all for free. So check it out there. If you want more information about working with me one-on-one, there's lots of information on my website, and always feel free to message me, reach out and say hi. I love getting to know people. So what got me into this path? Why did I start learning about the chakra system and trauma healing? What brought me here? I myself have been through a lot of different traumas in my life. I had a lot of surgeries when I was a kid, leading up to my really large 3-part surgery in 2006. I was 13. I had complete colitis. It's called pancolitis. I had a disease in my entire large intestine, and medication wasn't working. Nothing was helping. We could not get me better. It was to the point where things were really touch and go, and I almost died. After receiving those 3 surgeries, suddenly I was expected to be okay. No one ever asked me, Jenine, how are you doing? How are you mentally processing nearly dying at 13? It was never discussed. As I got older then, I was living suddenly in this entirely different body. I had so many chronic illnesses that were popping up. I developed depression as my parents started fighting and going through divorce. I was so lost on what to do after high school. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, what I liked, what I wanted to do. I had been so focused on surviving from the ages of about 13 to 17 that life was a mystery. I felt like I skipped that entire portion of learning in my life. I was so focused on just living day to day, being comfortable, figuring out medications, figuring out pain management, having no idea why I was still carrying all of this pain in my body when doctors said, well, you should be fine. So like I said, after about 17, I developed depression. I was in bed every day. I couldn't get up. Then when I went to university finally for business, I started to develop serious anxiety. I was having panic attacks at school. I was having panic attacks at home. Finals were the worst. Having to wait in a hallway with hundreds of other students preparing for an exam. It was terrifying to my body. And again, counselors just kept saying, come back. We'll chat about it some more next week. Just keep coming back. So for 10 years, I tried therapy, I tried CBT, I tried talking myself through things, but my body was still having these huge reactions in life. So I graduated with my business degree. It took me 5 years instead of 4, but I did it. I got through it. I jumped right into my career in human resources. I took corporate jobs, whatever I could find. I wanted a management job. I just had this push and this drive. I was going to get there. By the age of 23, I held a senior human resource generalist position at a manufacturing company. I had made it, so it seemed, but I was the most miserable I had ever felt. I was tired, I was exhausted, my stress levels were just out of control. I had no bearings in my life. Everything seemed to be falling apart around me, but I was the most successful I'd ever been. So I should want this. I should keep this up. I should keep pushing. Look at all of this push. Look at what it's got me. I've achieved so much. But I was still struggling with money, struggling with my health, struggling with relationships, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. After seeing a naturopath, and we went through the whole list. We went through stress testing, cortisol testing, hormone testing, the normal blood work, extra blood work. We were trying to figure out what was going on in my body. What was the system that was responsible for all of this craziness happening? All of this undiagnosable craziness too. I had been diagnosed with depression and anxiety, but it didn't make sense why I was still living with so much chronic pain, chronic illness, fatigue. I still wasn't living. Thankfully, and still I'm friends with this naturopath to this day, thankfully she was the first one that said, Jenine, have you ever thought about this from a spiritual or an energetic point of view? And I was like, what the heck does that mean? She said, have you ever thought of going for either somatic experiencing or a Reiki session with someone? Because maybe this is more than what we think it is. And sure as heck, the first Reiki session I had, I was anxiety-free for 3 months. For 3 entire months, I had my brain and my life back. That's when I woke up to the world of meditation and learning Diksha, which was an Indian tradition, and being surrounded with this group of people that were also healing through meditation, through Reiki, through essential oils, through this entirely holistic, natural side of life. It was a really incredible thing to experience that shift within myself, that I had my brain. I had my life back for a while. In that 3 months, I started to understand that my anxiety and my depression was not a life sentence. I was understanding why the medications we had tried weren't working. It was never about the physical body. It was about the energy, and the energy that was blocked within me from years and years of stress and traumas and things that I had never had a chance to process and explain and understand. So I want to know, does this sound like you too? Feel free to pop in the comments. If you're catching the replay, feel free to let me know if this sounds like you. I find so many women that I work with were really similar. Men as well. We've usually achieved some level of success in our life, but we feel stuck. We feel like we're still suffering day to day, and all of our stress and struggle and depression, anxiety is just building, but we can't figure out what to do with it. Or there's a lot of women I work with as well that I was really blessed to grow up in the time that I did. I had access to the internet. I had access to cell phones. Not quite like kids today, but I grew up with a computer instead of always having to go to the library to find outdated information. A lot of women that I work with are in that 55 and up range that are finally seeing themselves in PTSD videos, CPTSD videos, videos like this. They're finally saying, someone else gets it. I'm still reactive to my environment and to my entire life all these years later, but now I'm recognizing what I went through as a kid. That was never normal. That should have been considered abuse or neglect. And by today's standards, maybe I wouldn't have been with my parents. Maybe my dad would have been considered an abusive alcoholic and I couldn't have stayed with the family. They would have put me in a foster care system or somehow removed me from that toxic, harmful environment. There's this spiritual awakening happening in that generation of women that are finally feeling into that power. They're feeling like these diagnoses or these symptoms are making sense. They're hearing the word trauma and they're seeing themselves in the mirror as someone who has been traumatized in their life. So like I said, there's kind of these two distinct groups that I work with. There's a lot of us who have access to technology that are starting to find meditations and a community of people who are doing this more and more. And then there are those who have gone their entire life wondering, why am I so different than everybody else? And finding themselves and that power again in these diagnoses of trauma, understanding it, coming to understand their nervous system and healing their body, spending time on them for the first time ever for some people. So today I want to break down what my top 3 things that I want you to experience when we work together as a client and working together with me. I want you, number 1, I want you to deeply understand your body. This has been an absolute game changer for me in my healing and in my life, becoming an entrepreneur now, seeing clients one-on-one, understanding your body, how the nervous system works, why we store traumas, why we hold on to that pain from years and years and years ago. And I'll explain this and describe these as I go. Number one thing I help my clients with, always step one, is understanding this body that we live in. Deeply understanding why it's happening, why things are shifting, why our body is stuck, why we're experiencing symptoms. Number two, I want you to deeply understand your energy. So what do I mean by that? That's where we're going to dive into the chakra system. It is so powerful to understand that behind every physical sensation in your body, every illness, every stress, there is an energy that is causing these blocks, but can also do so much healing. So I'm going to describe to you how energy works in the body, why we teach the 7 main chakras as a Reiki practitioner, and how it can influence your body and help you understand your body more deeply. The third thing that I always dive into with clients, once we've created these foundations, is number 3. We do something I call deep diving. We explore in the inner child relationship. We explore those old wounds and those traumas, but we can't do that until we have these first 2 steps down. Until you understand your body and can help your body regulate and self-soothe, meditation, journaling, inner child healing, seeing therapist, seeing your doctor, so many things may not quite work because we don't have a deep understanding of how to calm ourselves down in times of panic and stress, which is what has caused this cascade to happen in the first place. As kids, we didn't know how to cope with our environment. We didn't know how to regulate. So what a lot of us do then as adults and as people of the world, I'd say this is about 90% of the population, is we have this little triangle. There's 3 steps. There's 3 things we usually do. Step number 1 for a lot of us is to go see our doctor. They're supposed to be the be-all, end-all. They should know all. They can cure us. They can heal us. We're really grown up and raised to export our health, to export that decision-making, to go see a professional, which is perfect. I love doctors. They've helped me through a lot. But a lot of us stop at level 1. We only go see a doctor. Then, a while later, we're still experiencing stress and symptoms. Some doctors or ourselves, we take on that new learning attitude. We want to go explore and try to find a deeper meaning because the physical isn't quite getting the results we want. We're not healing like we want to. A lot of us then go to step 2, which is usually the emotional side. We see a therapist. We see a counselor. We start to speak with someone. We read self-help books. We try to deal with the emotional side, which is, again, a nice step. But if we have, which is at the very top of this pyramid, a whole bunch of energy blocks from stress, traumas, this lack of understanding in our body and how things work, the first 2 steps, just like this, the first 2 steps never really get us the results that we want because we're ignoring this pivotal piece of the energy. So what I suggest people do, and I would love to get the entire world behind this, is I hope that we can give you the tools, the confidence, the deep understanding of your body and your energy so that you start by asking yourself energetic questions first whenever you're experiencing symptoms. So whenever you're feeling physical pains and aches and illnesses or your chronic pain is flaring up, I want you to start thinking, what energy is at play here? Then, what emotion is underneath that energy? every one of the chakras has not only a physical body part it's related to, but also emotional meanings and energy meanings. So we want you to start with the energy first, then look at the emotions, and then start supporting yourself physically. Maybe that's through massages or chiropractors, seeing your doctor. Of course, as always, if you're experiencing severe symptoms, it's always still a good idea to go get anything ruled out, like heart conditions or things. Doctors are a really good first step for ruling out severe medical issues. If you've done that and you're still noticing all of these symptoms, start looking at the energy and the emotions first. We want the energy to take up this major portion of your life. So let's dive a little bit into the chakra system. What do I mean by energy? Energy, according to Reiki, in our body is stored in 7 main energy centers. They kind of look like a little ball of energy. So at each area of the body, at the tailbone, we have the root chakra. Right below the belly button here and our reproductive organs, this is our sacral chakra. Switch up my chalk color because that's fun. And our abdomen, all of our digestive organs, so from our rib cage down to our belly button. That's our solar plexus. Then we've got our chest and our arms by extension. So this all in here. Our arms, our palm chakras. That's the heart chakra. Each energy center has a little ball. Remember, I forgot to draw that. So our heart chakra up here in our neck and our jaw, kind of all these interconnected muscles. This is our throat. Then we have our third eye, which is right here in between our eyebrows. And then right at the cap of our head, right at the top, I feel like hairline and back. So right at that cap is the crown. So each of these chakras, like I was saying, has an emotional, an energetic, and a physical meaning and definition to them. So let's go through them a little bit. I want to start raising your awareness about your body and your energy, which are steps number 1 and 2. So our root chakra, I like to break these down into individual meanings. So what is the main key word at the root chakra? Safety is going to be the biggest word here. Physical safety, emotional safety, safety in relationships. We want this, all of our basic, most 3D earthly needs met. So money, food, water, shelter, things like that. So the big word at the root chakra is safety. Sacral chakra, there are so many meanings. It is a very large chakra in a very small little area. Now I'm writing those a little bit smaller, so I'll explain them as I go. Boundaries and passions. Boundaries come from our sacral chakra, honoring our sovereignty, honoring our sense of self, this passionate version of us. It's also where we give birth to our ideas and our passions. They come out into life. The solar plexus, its main word is self. So that's self-esteem, self-confidence, self-love, self-worth, being our authentic self. Those are all really important at the solar plexus. The heart chakra's main word, as you probably know, is love. It's also about vulnerability, though. This is where we share our energy. This is our heart chakra. We want to pour our heart into the world. So it's also about vulnerability. Throat chakra is all about expression. Equally important in the throat chakra, though, is being heard and understood and validated by the person we're speaking with. So we can have this throat chakra being really active, communicating, expressing ourselves, but if we're talking to a brick wall or talking to someone who's not hearing, it's really frustrating to that throat chakra, and we'll start to notice physical symptoms. The third eye's main word is all about trust. So trusting our gut instincts, trusting ourself, trusting divine as well, comes from the third eye. And the crown chakra is about connection or support or both. Connection. We want to feel as though we're connected to others. We want to feel as though we have a support system. So when we're lacking any one of these, so say, this is where the trauma side of Reiki healing comes in. Say we were lacking safety growing up. Our root chakra is holding on to energy here. It's keeping energy stuck. So ideally, when we think of energy, it should circulate and cycle through the body. It should move up and down, and when all of our energy is balanced, as a healer, I tend to see it all perfectly aligning. So all the way from our crown, all the way down to our feet, I feel this very straight white line of like, okay, things are balanced. We can be calm, things are okay. So when energy gets blocked somewhere, we're interrupting this flow. It's stopping. So it's kind of like, when you feel lightheaded or your heart skips a beat or things like that, it's because the circulation isn't happening properly. So just like our energy, we want to find these blocks. We want to become aware of these blocks. So one of the biggest indicators of a block in our body is often physical pain. Physical pain is a manifestation of blocked energy somewhere in the body, according to Reiki healing. So that's why I think going to a doctor first, while it's a really good step, as always, consulting a medical practitioner is amazing. Rule out those underlying causes. But when we start with the physical, we're missing the fact that there's an energy block here because we don't feel safe. So we can treat our back pain, our leg pain, our foot pain with Tylenol, Advil, different narcotics. We can treat it with a lot of things. We can even go as far as to have surgery. But that pain is never going to fully go away unless we deal with the underlying energetic cause. That's what I love about Reiki. When we find, so there's this physical pain, say here that's like the thigh or like the groin area, maybe our knees, we're noticing this physical ache in our legs. Now I get to ask myself the questions of, oh wait, I recognize legs are root chakra. I'm not feeling safe somewhere in my life. Then we get into the deep diving, the inner child healing, the trauma healing. We start to explore why we don't feel safe. Where is that coming from? Why is the block here? Because the body will always send us messages like this. Through physical pain, you might even notice a lot of insecurity, a lot of scarcity wounds, a lot of fear of money, fear of losing your home, kind of maybe even some irrational fears. You're like, I'm not getting evicted. There's no big money stress in my life, but I'm feeling a lot of fear about my safety. It's the root chakra. There's a block somewhere here. So when we start to explore, when we start to say, yes, body, I hear you, even that act alone starts to create a little bit of healing. By honoring the body and deeply understanding it, we start to say, hey, I got the message. I caught that signal. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. Now I'm going to look at step 2, the energy healing. What can I do to support this root chakra and support this need for safety? So this could be meditations, this could be speaking with a therapist about those deep-seated wounds, it could be seeing a Reiki practitioner like myself or hiring a personal coach, could be going to see your doctor and clearing those blood, getting blood work done or things to really help put your mind at ease with what's going on in your body. We want to create safety. Maybe it's looking at your budgeting and looking at your bank account and finding those innovative ways to save money, to reduce the stress, having a deep conversation with your spouse about these underlying fears that you're feeling too. All of those things start to build up these little reassurances and connections in the body until that's healed again. And then the energy goes back to circulating like it should, and we feel confident. We start to feel like we have good boundaries. We start to feel self-confident. We feel love from our partner, the people we're working with. We feel safe, so of course we feel loved. We feel like we can express our emotions. We talked about not feeling safe, so that really helped us, and it built connections with others. Maybe when we were vulnerable and got to share our underlying needs for safety, someone else said, gosh, I've been having the same feelings lately. I totally get that. That sounds really tough. So we start to heal all the chakras simply by understanding where the block occurred in the first place. So I hope that makes sense. I hope this gets you thinking, how can I deeply understand my body? How can I deeply understand my energy? And then what can I do to support that healing? What can I do to take that even further and really heal those wounds? So I'll give you another example of this. One that I often see people struggle with is crown or third eye chakra blocks. So these first two here, you're going to notice it first again through pain. A lot of physical pains like headaches, racing thoughts, lack of sleep also comes from our third eye. We're going to feel disconnected from others, potentially very lonely. Our third eye, we don't trust ourselves. We don't trust other people. We're feeling very skeptical about things. We wish we could move forward. We have all these ideas, but we don't trust them. So people will start to notice a lot of anxiety coming from the crown chakra. So what happens when we get a block all the way at this top chakra? So say we've got this block here. The energy circuit is no longer happening. Just erase a little more of that. So there's this interruption in that beautiful circulation of our energy. We have a block at the crown chakra. We're feeling headaches. We're feeling anxiety. We're really afraid. We're worried. We feel lonely and disconnected. How can we work with that? The crown chakra and the third eye are about connection and trust. When we feel a lot of anxiety up here in our higher chakras, they're called. These are kind of the higher chakras. These three are the lower chakras. These are the higher chakras. The heart is often called the gateway chakra. When we feel all this energy stuck up here, we have a lot of blocks. Our neck is tight, our jaw is tight, our thoughts are racing. It's a lot of very similar mental illness symptoms when we start to get these higher chakra symptoms. We want to start establishing connection and trust again. So when everything is blocked up here, our trust is suffering, our ability to express ourselves probably when we're feeling that really insecure, we don't feel like we have connections with others, we're feeling racing thoughts and anxiety, we don't want to express ourselves as much. We feel a lack of love in our life. We're feeling pretty self-conscious. We're maybe not able to set boundaries because, again, we're a little afraid to use our voice. And then safety starts to be compromised when we start having those anxious fears about everything, even though it doesn't make sense. So some ways to start healing the crown chakra, which calls for connection. We can do simple visualizations about feeling our energy connecting with others, seeing ourselves really immersed in this whole web of life. We are truly never alone. We can also, especially in the case of anxiety, when we feel a lack of connection and support, we're feeling a lot of pressure on ourselves. It's like we're in a pressure cooker, like it's too much. We don't want to handle it on our own. We're really stressed and scared. We maybe can't do this on our own. So we want to increase that, we want to release the pressure. So almost imagining a pressure release valve, or that opening that we can just open, let that anxiety have some room. Imagine yourself having an entire field, just letting that anxiety run free for a while, let it have its moment of whoosh out the mind. Often that really calms our body down. When we recognize, yeah, I'm feeling way overstressed and I feel like I have way too much pressure on me because I don't trust myself or following my gut instincts. I don't trust that other people have the best in mind for me. I don't feel supported or connected to divine or spirit or myself. We want to release that pressure and then start to call in more supports. Usually in the crown chakra, it can be difficult to jump right into asking others for help. So we want to start with our faith, with our spirituality, no matter what you believe in, even if it's just a higher power or a wiser version of you, doesn't have to be religious, but calling in that connection, calling in support. So you can see a Reiki practitioner like me, you can see a coach, you can see your therapist, building that connection back. And again, every time we recognize I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling alone, I'm going to reach out for support, I'm going to help my body. Hey, look, I found some friends that can help. I found my therapist. I got an appointment. Everything that we do to work towards healing and honoring our need for connection and that signal that the body's been trying to send us, we start to heal this. And then the energy starts to cycle again. We start to notice our physical pain lessening. That's usually the first indicator. Physical pain becomes easier to deal with, or it just disappears. Sometimes, especially in the throat chakra, I've noticed this one. If I'm having a hard time expressing myself, I'll usually get a sore throat. The moment I find a way to express myself, my sore throat can be gone in as easily as half an hour. It just vanishes. The body's like, thank you, you understood the message. The body is always sending us messages. When we understand the body sending a message, we can look to the energy, we can look to the chakra system. It's a really easy way. It's 7 chakras. They each have a typical meaning about them, a certain body part associated with it. And then we can start to work on healing and doing that deep diving. So I hope that this helps. I hope that this gives you an insight into my perspective, what goes on in my brain when I see you for a session. And I want you to know that you're not broken. You're not broken if you're experiencing any of these. You're like, oh gosh, all of my chakras sound like they're broken, or all of my chakras sound like they might be blocked. If you want to know more, I see clients one-on-one all the time. I have a 4-month coaching program available. If you are ready to do that deep dive, it's called Absolutely the Best Me. We can do so much healing together in a really short amount of time, given the energy and the power of Reiki healing. Reiki helps shift our nervous system out of the sympathetic side, which is our fight and flight mode that trauma often leaves us stuck in, and it helps us shift into the parasympathetic side, which is where healing happens, which is where the energy circulates so beautifully in our body. It's our repair mode. Reiki really helps us get to that repairing mode, which is beautiful, and why I really believe in its ability to work with traumas, to work with chronic pain, to work with mental illness. And I don't like the word mental illness, mental health concerns, because again, mental illness is just a sign that somewhere in your chakra system, something is feeling blocked and is trying to send a message. I live myself with anxiety, depression, and more recently, I was finally diagnosed with PTSD, which I feel like has been in my life for so long. But again, like so many people, I was just discovering what trauma meant. That I didn't have to be a first responder. I didn't have to live through a natural disaster, although I did a few times growing up. It doesn't just apply to Army veterans. PTSD is something that anyone can have. When your body moves from feeling safe to not safe, that's a trauma response. If it lasts longer than 1 month and you still don't feel safe, that's a trauma response. Your body is moving all of its effort and energy into the nervous system to try to keep you safe. So there's so much that we can talk about, so much that we can explore, but this is how I start to break things down in the body and understand the clients that I work with. We start to look at the body, the energy, then we do some deep dives. We get the chakra system active and flowing and circulating beautifully again. We explore each of these chakras together and what might be here, what pains you're holding in your body. And then we heal. I want you to believe in your capability of healing, the capacity you have to really change your life. Simply by coming to understand your energy and your body. This isn't rocket science. This is stuff that I have a lot of knowledge that I love to impart to you. I hope you get to learn from this. you're curious about the chakra system, if you want to know more about trauma and healing or mental illness and chronic pain healing with Reiki, I do teach several classes throughout the month on Insight Timer, or you're welcome to visit my website, intuitionawakening.com/book online. That's book-online, I should say. I'll leave a link here in my comments or in that section so you can click right to my website. You're welcome to take advantage of the healing that I offer. It's always my intention when we meet that we're going to make an incredible impact on your life. I can't wait to meet. I hope that this helps and gets your thought process curious about, what is my body trying to say? What is my energy trying to tell me? What if I'm not broken and I can work with this pain and start to really truly heal my life? Much love, my friends. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.